Life often throws unexpected challenges our way, but how we respond defines who we truly are. This is the story of Emily Carter, a hardworking waitress who believed in doing the right thing, only to be punished for it. But fate had other plans. What happened next not only changed her life, but also transformed an entire workplace. Stay until the end for a powerful message on integrity and standing up for what's right. Emily struggles at Sunset Diner. For nearly 3 years, Sunset Diner had been Emily's second home. It wasn't glamorous, just a small, local restaurant tucked between a gas station and a laundromat in the heart of Springfield. Customers ranged from truck drivers to families enjoying Sunday breakfast. The pay was low, the hours were long, and management was indifferent, yet Emily stayed. She had no choice. Her younger brother, Jake, was in college, and though he didn't know it, she helped pay for his books and groceries when their mother couldn't. She worked double shifts, picked up extra hours whenever possible, and still barely made ends meet. Emily had once dreamed of finishing school, maybe pursuing a career in business, but those dreams had been put on hold. The diner was where she belonged for now, and despite the rough conditions, she took pride in her work. She memorized customers' usual orders, learned their names, and found small ways to brighten their day. But beneath the surface, Sunset Diner had an unspoken rule. Certain customers were treated better than others. Emily saw how some waitstaff played favorites, serving well-dressed customers with enthusiasm while ignoring those who looked like they wouldn't tip well. Truck drivers, construction workers, and elderly customers often received the cold shoulder. Olivia, a senior waitress, frequently scrolled through her phone instead of serving tables she deemed not worth it. Jake, a newer server, outright avoided certain tables, knowing there wouldn't be a big tip waiting for him at the end of the meal. Emily hated it, but speaking up came with consequences. She had learned that lesson the hard way months ago when she casually mentioned that a customer had been waiting too long. Olivia had shot her a glare and said, "You don't get paid extra for being a saint, Emily." Since then, she had kept her head down, avoiding conflict at all costs. Yet, deep down, a part of her burned with frustration. Why was it so difficult to treat people with respect? Why did kindness feel like an uphill battle in a place that should be about service? Emily often thought about quitting, but with bills to pay and no backup plan, she couldn't afford to take that leap. And then came the night that changed everything. The moment that forced Emily to choose between staying silent and standing up for what was right. A moment that would cost her everything and, at the same time, give her the opportunity of a lifetime. The night everything changed, it was a slow Wednesday evening when an older man walked into the diner. He was dressed simply, clean but unremarkable. Emily immediately noticed the way he hesitated at the entrance, as if he already knew how he would be treated. And sure enough, her co-workers' reactions were swift. Olivia, a senior waitress, didn't even look up from her phone. Jake, a newer server, paused mid-sentence and avoided eye contact with the man. The atmosphere grew tense, thick with unspoken judgment. Emily had seen this before. Some customers were invisible to her colleagues, and this man was clearly one of them. She watched as he glanced around the room, his expression unreadable, his shoulders slightly slouched, as though he expected to be turned away or ignored. He took a slow step forward, scanning for an open table, his hesitation lingering. A few seconds passed, but still, none of her co-workers moved. The unspoken rule had already been set. This man was not a priority. Emily felt a pang of frustration. She refused to be part of this unfairness. Taking a deep breath, she stepped forward with a warm smile, greeting him in a way that made it clear he was welcome. "Good evening, sir. Would you like a booth or a table?" The man's eyes flickered with surprise before he nodded slightly. "A booth, please." She guided him to a seat near the window and handed him a menu. "Take your time. Let me know if you have any questions." As he settled in, Emily went straight to the kitchen, grabbing a coffee pot. Before he even had to ask, she returned and filled his cup, ensuring it was hot and fresh. "Let me know if you'd like a refill anytime." The man studied her for a moment before giving a small, appreciative nod. "Thank you." Meanwhile, Emily caught the exchanged glances between Olivia and Jake. Olivia rolled her eyes and muttered under her breath. Jake smirked, shaking his head. It was clear they thought she was wasting her time. But Emily didn't care. This was how a customer should be treated, with dignity, with respect, with kindness. As the man browsed the menu, Emily stood by the counter, pretending to check the order slips while discreetly watching his reaction. She saw the way his shoulders eased slightly, how his grip on the menu relaxed, as though the initial tension had slowly begun to lift. He wasn't expecting much, but a simple act of kindness had made a difference. And that was all Emily needed to know. She had made the right choice. Little did she realize that single decision was about to change everything. The unjust consequence. The next morning, Emily was called into the manager's office. Mark, the diner's indifferent owner, stood with arms crossed, his expression void of empathy. "We're letting you go," he said flatly, as if he were discussing something as trivial as a misplaced order. Emily's breath caught in her throat. What? What? Mark sighed heavily. Rubbing his temples like this was an exhausting conversation he didn't want to have. "It's just not working out." Emily felt her pulse quicken. "Not working out?" Her voice was barely above a whisper. "I've been here for nearly 3 years, never missed a shift, never been late. I give my best to this place. How can you say it's not working out?" Mark avoided eye contact, instead glancing at a file on his desk. "We've made our decision." Emily's stomach twisted into knots. She knew the truth. This wasn't about her performance. This was punishment for treating a customer with the respect they deserved, for refusing to follow the unspoken rule of ignoring certain guests. "This is because of last night, isn't it?" she challenged. Mark didn't answer. His silence was louder than words. Anger and disbelief coursed through Emily. "So, I get fired for doing my job? For treating someone with basic decency?" Her voice trembled, but not with fear, with defiance. Mark exhaled sharply. "You can collect your final paycheck next week. That's all I have to say." Emily clenched her jaw, her hands tightening into fists at her sides. There was no point in arguing. Her fate had already been sealed the moment she chose to stand up for someone instead of following the toxic culture of favoritism. With slow, deliberate movements, she untied her apron and placed it on the chair in front of Mark. "You know this isn't right," she said, her voice steady despite the fire burning inside her. Mark didn't flinch. He simply shuffled some papers, eager to move on. As she stepped out of the office, her head held high, the air in the diner felt different, like she was seeing it for what it truly was. Olivia stood near the counter, arms crossed, her smirk smug and satisfied. Jake kept his eyes down, pretending to wipe the counter, unwilling to meet her gaze. Emily inhaled sharply. She had lost her job, her income, and her security, all for doing the right thing. But as she pushed open the diner door and stepped out into the morning light, one thing was certain. She might have lost this battle, but she refused to lose herself. A life-changing phone call. Sitting in her car, gripping the steering wheel in frustration, Emily's phone buzzed. An unknown number. She hesitated, staring at the screen, her mind racing with possibilities. Was this another bill collector? A mistake? Finally, curiosity won, and she answered. "Emily, this is Daniel Reeves. You served me last night at Sunset Diner." Her breath caught. "Oh yes, sir. How can I help you?" Daniel's voice was calm but firm. "I heard what happened. You were fired for treating me with respect." Emily swallowed hard, gripping the steering wheel tighter. "I guess that's how things work around there." A brief pause. Then Daniel continued. "Well, I want to offer you a job. Not just any job, a management position at my restaurant. I need someone with integrity, someone who treats people right. I think you'd be perfect." Emily's heart pounded. This was surreal. Could she really step into a leadership role? Could she take charge and turn a place around when she had never been given the chance before? She glanced around at the diner from the parking lot, the place where she had given her time and effort for years, only to be discarded in an instant. Did she want to step back into the restaurant business, knowing how cruel and unfair it could be? But something deep inside her, the part of her that refused to let injustice win, answered before she had time to overthink. "You're offering me the chance to fix what's broken?" she asked, her voice steadier than she expected. Daniel's voice softened, yet remained strong. "I'm offering you the chance to make it your own. I don't just want a manager, Emily. I want someone who can build something better." A spark of determination flared in her chest. She had spent years keeping her head down, believing that playing it safe was the only way to survive. But where had that gotten her? Fired, disrespected, forgotten. Maybe it was time to stand tall, to take control instead of being controlled. She exhaled, letting the weight of the past few hours settle over her. Then, with newfound resolve, she spoke. "I'll do it, but on one condition. I run things my way. No interference." Daniel chuckled, his tone warm and approving. "That's exactly what I was hoping you'd say." The return, as the boss. The next morning, Emily stood outside Sunset Diner, gripping her bag strap. Yesterday, she had walked out with nothing. Today, she was walking back in as the new manager. The air was crisp, carrying the scent of fresh bread from the bakery down the street. The morning rush had begun, but today, everything would change. As she stepped inside, the usual breakfast crowd chatted over coffee and eggs. Waitresses weaved between tables, balancing plates stacked with pancakes and steaming cups of coffee. The bell above the door jingled, drawing attention her way. Olivia's smirk vanished the moment she saw Emily. Jake, laughing mid-sentence, froze, his face quickly shifting to a look of unease. And then Mark emerged from the back, a stack of invoices in his hand, his brow furrowed, until his eyes landed on Daniel Reeves standing beside Emily. As of this morning, Daniel announced in a firm, unwavering voice, "Sunset Diner has new management. Effective immediately. Mark, your position is terminated." A stunned silence filled the room. Forks clinked against plates as customers paused mid-bite. Mark's face turned an alarming shade of red, his jaw tightening as he struggled to process what he had just heard. "Wait a minute." Daniel didn't give him the chance to finish. "I've already heard enough." Turning his attention to the rest of the staff, Daniel continued, his voice carrying throughout the restaurant. "Last night, I visited this establishment as a regular customer. What I witnessed was unacceptable. This woman," he gestured to Emily, "was the only one who did her job with dignity and respect. That's why she's now your new manager." Another wave of silence rippled through the diner. Olivia's complexion paled, her smug demeanor cracking. Jake clenched his jaw so tightly that his teeth looked as if they might shatter. Some staff members shifted uncomfortably, stealing glances at each other, wondering what this meant for them. Emily took a step forward, her voice steady but commanding. "I know change isn't easy, but this place will be run differently from now on. Everyone will be treated fairly, staff and customers alike." Jake exhaled sharply, but Olivia crossed her arms, clearly unimpressed. "And what if some of us don't like the changes?" she asked, her tone laced with defiance. Daniel, standing tall beside Emily, gave a small, knowing smile. "Then you're welcome to leave." The weight of his words settled over the room. Olivia pursed her lips, but said nothing more. The tension in the air remained thick, but Emily refused to let it shake her. She turned her gaze toward the rest of the team. "For those of you who want to be part of something better, who want to work in a place where respect is given to everyone, I look forward to working with you." A few hesitant nods came from the kitchen staff. The busboy, who had always kept his head down, looked relieved. Even a few customers gave small nods of approval, watching the shift unfold before their eyes. Emily let the silence stretch for a moment before finally breaking it with a firm, confident smile. "Looks like we all have some adjusting to do. So let's get to work." The transition wasn't easy. Olivia barely spoke to Emily, her smugness replaced with quiet resentment. Jake sulked through shifts, his reluctance evident, but he stayed. Some employees left outright when they realized the old favoritism was gone for good. The toxic environment that had once thrived under unspoken rules and double standards was no longer sustainable. And Emily? She didn't lose sleep over it. She wasn't there to make friends. She was there to make things right. Weeks passed. Slowly but surely, the diner changed. Customers who were once ignored received warm welcomes. Service improved, and a new sense of community began to form. Staff members who had once been hesitant to change started to see the benefits of a fair and respectful workplace. The old hierarchy dissolved, and in its place was a culture of teamwork and equality. Emily took every opportunity to lead by example. She made sure that no customer was treated differently based on their appearance or assumed tipping habits. She implemented small but meaningful changes, encouraging the staff to engage with customers genuinely, updating the menu to include customer favorites, and even organizing occasional team meetings where concerns could be addressed openly. At first, there was resistance. Olivia remained distant, her interactions with Emily minimal and curt. Jake continued to drag his feet, but it became clear he had no better options. A few employees stormed out in frustration when they realized that the era of selective service was truly over. But for those who stayed, something remarkable began to happen. They started to take pride in their work. Their interactions with customers became more sincere. Smiles became more frequent, and the once hostile work environment began to feel lighter. The biggest change, however, came from the customers. Regulars who had once been overlooked now returned with gratitude, tipping generously and expressing their appreciation for the improved service. New customers began to take notice, drawn in by the welcoming atmosphere. Sunset Diner, once a place of inconsistency and favoritism, became known for its genuine hospitality and fair service. One evening, as Emily wiped down the counter, a man who had been coming in for years but had never been acknowledged before approached her. "I don't know what you did, but this place feels different." "Better." Emily smiled, feeling a deep sense of fulfillment. "It's not just me," she replied. "It's all of us." For the first time, she felt something new, respect, not just from her customers but from herself. Lessons learned from this story. Emily Carter's story is a powerful testament to the value of integrity and kindness. No matter the circumstances, standing up for what is right may come with challenges. It might cost us our jobs, stability, or even our sense of security. But in the end, honesty and strong moral values always get rewarded. Emily didn't just stand up against injustice. She transformed the entire culture at Sunset Diner, turning it from a place filled with favoritism and disrespect into a warm, fair, and professional environment. She proved that one person can make a difference when they stay true to their principles. Meaningful messages from this story. Doing the right thing isn't always easy, but it's always worth it. Standing up against unfairness can open doors you never imagined. Real change starts with small actions. A smile, a kind gesture, a fair decision. Persistence and kindness can help us create a better community, not just for ourselves, but for those around us. Emily's story reinforces my belief in the power of kindness and integrity. Sometimes, life puts us in tough situations to test our true values. But only when we dare to stand up and take action can we change our circumstances and shape our future. If you believe in the power of integrity, kindness, and positive change, join us on Toch Story. Don't forget to like, share this video, and subscribe to Toch Story so you never miss an inspiring story. Turn on notifications to get the latest videos as soon as they're released. Do you agree that kindness always wins? Share your thoughts in the comments below. The takeaway: Emily's story is a testament to the power of integrity. Doing the right thing isn't always easy. It can cost you everything. But sometimes, standing up for what's right opens doors you never imagined. If this story inspired you, like this video and subscribe for more powerful tales of resilience, transformation, and second chances. Would you have taken the risk Emily did? Tell us in the comments below. Never forget, integrity always wins in the end.